Knicks Nation. This is your boy Cranky from the Cranky Life Podcast. I'm here to talk basketball. It is that season, people. It is the NBA regular season. Get ready to start. And next Tuesday, October 22nd, my boys, my pals, my man, the New York Knicks, the New York Knicks Nation will be playing the NBA champions, the Boston Celtics. And we are ready. We are ready. With the offseason behind us, we have made big moves, people. We brought in Mikal Bridges from the Nets for a boatload of draft picks. Karl-Anthony Towns, the former number one pick, Minnesota franchise player, is now a New York Knickerbocker. Cost us Randall, cost us DiVincenzo, but I think we had to do it. We need to shuffle the cards. And my man Leon Rose, with his patience, fortitude, has done it again, people. We have now built a team to match up with the Celtics. Jalen Brunson, Bridges, Towns, Anunoby, Mitchell Robinson, who's out until early next year, Josh Hart. We're here, people. The Knicks are here, and it's a new season. Are we ready to win the NBA championship? Or are there still gaps? Are there too many gaps for us to fill, especially off the bench? We're going to answer some of those burning questions. However, before we do so, let's take a trip down memory lane, shouldn't we? I think that's important because if you have been around as long as I have, then you're a long suffering Knicks fan. And let's talk about why we're so optimistic this year as compared to prior seasons. Let's talk about background, Knicks past expectations, and our continuous disappointments. We are one of the most iconic franchises in the NBA, in NBA history. But our path has been riddled with heartbreak and unmet expectations. We have been starved. The Knicks have been starved for a championship for over 5 decades, with our last title coming in 1973. Most NBA fans weren't born then. It's a long time ago. And despite flashes of brilliance during the Patrick Ewing era, which we'll talk about, and the Carmelo Anthony era, we have fell short of the championship. If you're Knicks fans, every year is the same thing. You continue to shed tears. But we're back. We're here. Now we're going to be here for a while, people. We're going to be here for a while. The Knicks are in town and we're going to be here for a while. Let's talk about the Patrick Ewing era. That's the era I loved because I wasn't familiar with the 73 era, which we'll touch upon a little bit. But let's talk about the Patrick Ewing era. That's important. We won in 73, Walt Frazier, Dave DeBusschere, Red Holzman, and the captain, Willis Reed. And it was, I assume, because I wasn't watching basketball then, I assume it was a great time. And you know how New York is. Because as perennial non-winners, I'm going to call us, and since 73, the Garden is always full. James Dolan and the Garden are in New York Knicks' heart. Well, Dolan may not be that much because Dolan, he's made some bad decisions over the year. But the Knicks are. Spike Lee's of the world. It's the Mecca. It's where we play basketball, and people love it. But we cannot bring an NBA championship. Let's think about the Young era. When we won the draft lottery in 1985, and I love that period. I love that day when we selected Patrick Ewing, one of the most touted prospects in basketball history. Ewing became the face of the Knicks franchise for over a decade. And with him, we reached great heights, but we didn't get to the mountaintop. Throughout the 90s, Woody Knicks were perennial playoff contenders, making 2 NBA finals. You got to remember, Ewing played at Georgetown. Born in Jamaica, grew up in the States, recruited by John Thompson in that great Georgetown team, went to 3 of the 4 years in college, because he went for 4 years. Most kids nowadays don't. He was in the finals of the NCAA championship. Lost to the great Michael Jordan and James Worthy and Sam Perkins, North Carolina, in his first year. Didn't do well the second year. Won in his third year. And the last year, that Villanova team, with Pickney and the guys, they crushed him. Because I was a big Georgetown fan. I was crushed that day. The David Wingates of the world. We had, if you remember the first time we lost to North Carolina when Brown made that pass, I'm going way back, people, way back. We bring up some history. And redeemed ourselves in the third year, winning. And that Villanova team, I forgot what they shot that night. It had to be about, it looked like they shot 100%. Sure, it's probably about 60 or 70%. And we lost. But, you know what the outcome was? Draft lottery, we got Patrick Ewing. And he was great in his tenure as a Knick. Now back as an ambassador for the team, after leaving, coaching at Georgetown and being an assistant NBA coach for a while. Ewing was awesome. In the NBA Finals against Houston, I can remember it like it was yesterday. We lost in 7 games. We played really well. Olajuwon outplayed Ewing, but Ewing sort of held his own for most of the series. Didn't average as much as percentage-wise in terms of shooting or points as he did in the regular season. But Olajuwon was an exceptional player. And Ewing did enough for us to win. In Game 6, even though Starks played well in that game, he took the last shot, got it blocked by Olajuwon. That was a heartbreaker. But I think in the finals, if I recall correctly, John Starks shot 2 of 18. Hey, John, we love you. Remember that iconic dunk he made in the playoffs over Michael Jordan? And I think, if I'm mistaken, probably Harvard Grant was there. That dunk lives in Knickerbocker history. And I have pictures of that dunk, Starks. It was ridiculous. Left-handed going baseline. You can they take that dunk from different angles. Awesome. But John, when you were like shot your first 10 shot, 11 shot, you didn't realize that, you know what? Maybe I need to stop shooting. You shot 2 of 18, Mr. Starks. And you were the only player that day on the Knicks who shot under 40%. I think Steve Smith, who, by the way, missed that layup in the Garden against Jordan, can't forget that one, Chicago. I think he shot 57%. I think Harper was 50%. Ewing just over 40. Anthony Mason shot, well, I think Anthony Mason probably shot about 75%, if I recall. And John, 2 of 18. And we lost by 6 points. John, if you take 6 less shot, we probably would have won. I know people, I'm going back to memory lane. It was a tough period of time. Very, very tough. But we went through it. 1999, Sprewell, Houston, Camby. We got to the NBA final. We got to the finals, but we ran into San Antonio Spurs. David Robinson, Tim Duncan. And I think we would have done better against them. I think we probably had Larry Johnson in that team also. Would have done better if not for the fact that Ewing blew out his Achilles heel against Indiana. And so we couldn't play in the finals. And even though they had a very, very good team, would have done better. Would have been much more competitive. Definitely. So throughout the 90s in the Ewing era, gritty, defensive team, Mason, Oakley, Anthony, Hopper, Rolando Blackman joined later on. He's part of that whole equation. We were a good team. A good team. But the seasons after season became synonymous with frustration because we're always competitive, but could never capture a championship. Michael Jordan was an obstacle. And then when we got to the finals, either ran into Olajuwon or ran into the Twin Towers from San Antonio. Ewing's departure from the team in 2000 marked the end of an era, the most memorable era in my history as a Knickerbocker. But it also left us with a path, no clear path going forward. We were lost. Think about between 2000 and then the next era, which is the Carmelo Anthony era. So between 2000 and say 2011, we're in the wilderness. But then we had that Anthony trade. We had gotten Stoudemire before from Stoudemire was a free agent, played with Nash at Phoenix, did brilliant in the playoff. We wanted to pair with Anthony. My issue was when we made the Anthony trade is I think Anthony was in the last year of his contract with Denver. And instead of being patient and waiting for another 6 months to make sure he had a good enough team to compete, they decided to make the trade. We rushed. Impatience, impatience, impatience. And it hurt us quite a bit. Gave a bunch of draft pick and players for Anthony, I think Chauncey and a few more players. And there's a big trade. Number of different players involved in that trade. Number of players. And you can see the list of players in the video. So we got Anthony. And in 2013, we had one of the best teams and best performances, best season in decades. We finished with 54 and 28 record. And we earned the second seed in the NBA playoffs. However, despite Melo's incredible scoring achievement and his abilities and his performances, we couldn't get past the second round. We lost to Indiana in 6 games. Unfortunately, the rest of Carmelo's tenure with the Knicks was marred with inconsistencies, injuries, poor roster decisions, fighting. And as the time went on, we missed the playoffs year after year. By the time he was traded to Oklahoma City in 2017, we were back in the rebuilding phase. People during that tenure we had, supposedly the great Phil Jackson, who became a dud as a GM. Awful. Draft some players he shouldn't draft. Made trades he shouldn't make. He may have been a brilliant coach of Chicago and LA and won a bunch of championships, but as a GM, he was awful. Now, in recent years, things have gotten better, people. Since Melo's departures, the Knicks we have seen flashes of hope with the emergence of Julius Randle and the arrival of the steel, of the man, the captain, Jalen Brunson. And I think he has some of Willis Reed, who was back in 73. We hear how great Willis was as a captain. I think Jalen has some of those skill sets, leadership skills, put his body on the line, play for the team. And that's reflected in him taking a contract, the new contract he signed, where he left over $100 million on the table. People don't do that nowadays. Man's a captain, man's a leader, man wants to win. However, since we have gotten Jalen from Dallas, and Jalen, first of all, I should say, we got Leon Rose. Let me take a step back. We got Leon Rose, Mr. Patience. Leon was an agent for a number of players, know what players are, know what their skill sets are, know how to administer, know how to manage, know how to lead. He puts himself he's put the franchise, I should say, above himself and the team, and it shows. Doesn't really do media interviews, which the media are perturbed about. But we don't care so long as he produces. So long as he puts together a good team, construct a good team, Knicks fans are happy with Leon Rose. And Leon, you're doing a phenomenal job. You gave Brunson, 120 over 4, I think it is, if I'm not mistaken, 30 a year, and everybody will lose their mind. Jalen was a bench player at Dallas for a number of years, came out of Villanova where he won championships, so we knew he was a leader. Showed his wares in the playoff when Luka got hurt, especially against Utah. And you took a risk, and you knew his dad really well, probably one of your first clients. You took a risk in him, father and son combination. And man, has it played off, people. It's paid off, and we're buzzing. Jalen is the man in town. And then you last year brought in Anunoby, who got hurt, but we know his skill sets when he was at the Rafters. Can shoot the 3 from the corner, brilliant defensive players, can get you rebounds. Shut down player. Randle has been injury prone, and you decided, you know what? Last year of his contract, his option is next year, gotta trade him. Randle, we love you, but bye. In comes Karl-Anthony Towns. And then you traded this year, before you traded for Karl-Anthony Towns. For Carl, you brought in Bridges, a bunch of draft picks. I'm concerned about that. A lot of good picks to give up. You haven't know what those potential can be. But potential is what you can be, not what you are. You brought in Bridges, who's a proven commodity. Phoenix, the Nets, Villanova, Phoenix, the Nets, and now he is here with us to shut down defenders to match up against, the Boston duo, Tatum and Brown. That's what we got you, Anunoby and Bridges, to lock them down. So our team is built to face off with Boston. You think about the team. Jalen at the point, All-NBA, cannot be stopped. Then we have Bridges. Then we have Anunoby, who's going to shut down Brown and shut down Tatum. And we have the big man Towns, who can play the four. And with Robinson there or Hart, we'll start to see without Robinson because he's hurt. Robinson's always hurt people. I don't know what he's drinking or what he's taking. Hey, hey Robinson, I hope this year you stay healthy because we're going to need you if we have to compete for the championship. And Josh Hart, the most unselfish player in the NBA, the man who play with his heart and his soul on the garden floor and every floor that he plays on. Hart, we love you. You've been great. You're wonderful. So that team is gritty, and it has a coaching team who's a defensive coach who's evolving as an offensive coach. We have 6 excellent players. Now, the rest of our bench, because we gave up DiVincenzo, may not be what we wanted to be. Right? When we had Randall, he failed in the playoffs. 2 years in a row, he failed. 1 year he failed, 1 year he got hurt, but he failed in the playoffs. His numbers before and after weren't that great. When you talk about regular season basketball, playoff basketball, it was not great. And Towns have some challenges, but Towns can shoot the three, spread the floor, give Jalen the ability to get to the basket. You can drive and kick or go to the hoop, or you can pull up. Got options. Haven't seen the pick and roll really work really well yet in preseason, but I expect the pick and roll to be effective and unstoppable. When you have a 7-foot center who can drive to the basket, who can pull up for a jumper, who can shoot the three from the corner, you get options. And I'm telling you, this Knicks team got options, flexibility, versatility, all sort of utility people. We're ready for the Boston Celtics. On the bench, we got McBride, who played really last year. And then when Robinson joins, Hart may go back to the bench. And we have Payne, who came from Philly, who looks really good in preseason. Got to fill out the rest of them. Sims and the other players who are there, hopefully they can also step up, as McBride did last year. So we're in a good position, people. The weight of history is heavy on us, on the franchise, on us Knicks fans. But we're eager to see the version of this team. Can they finally break the curse, the non-championship curse, and bring a title back to Madison Square Garden, the mecca of basketball? With the new lineup of Bridges, Towns, Brunson, Anunoby, Hart, Robinson, they can play 5, but those 6 are key. This team looked much more talented than any Knicks squad in the last 20, I must say 25, 26 years. In 1999 said was the 1998 team was very, very good. But when Ewing got hurt, they fell off, and Ewing was in his down years then. This is an extremely talented team with championship potential. Boston going to be hard. They won the East by about 14 games last year, didn't they? And just ran through the playoffs. They're good at almost every position. They have all-stars all over the court. And their bench is getting better. Maybe Horford going to be a little bit older. Porzingis has played well, but he's also hurt. So maybe we'll, not wishing hurt on anybody. Don't want to beat them at full strength. But you never know. They're getting older. All right? This Knicks team is talented. The big question is this. Will they rise to the occasion? Last year, we had injuries. Anunoby injured. Randall injured. Jalen broke his wrist. Robinson always injured, and he was injured again. Can we overcome injuries? Can we play consistent? Can we deliver? The starting 5 looks incredible on paper, and Jalen Brunson is the undisputed deliverer. He's tough and clutch. So, Mitchell Robinson, his injury today is a really big blow for the team. He's going to come back, as I mentioned before, next year. And without him, we lose that defensive presence. Because even though Towns is tall and versatile and flexible and mobile, he only has like one block a game, not the greatest offensive rebounder, gets in foul trouble. So we're going to need Robinson. There's a lot of pressure on Towns now. We're going to need Robinson. Can Towns fill that defensive gap during Robinson's absence? And we're not even sure when Robinson come back, he'll be at full speed. DiVincenzo's departure, Vitaton's trade, and Isaiah Hartenstein, who was exceptional last year. But someone who we brought in as a backup center, given how hurt Robinson was, Hartenstein was great. But the bench is thin. And depth in the NBA is everything, especially when you have injuries. And especially for this long regular season. And you know how Tibbs like to overplay his starters. So we need to ensure that we have a good bench to reduce the minutes during the regular season so we can be fresh for the playoff. Right now, we're going to be relying on the starting five, but that's not sustainable. Hopefully, McBride and Payne and Hart and others, when Robinson comes back, can help alleviate some of that challenge. But as stacked as we are, Eastern Conference people is stacked. Lillard and the Greek Freak, I'm sure they're going to connect better with Middleton coming back. So they have a really good team. And maybe Middleton won the championship with Drew Holiday a while ago, only a few years ago. So they're not far away. Boston has all 5 returning starters: Drew Holiday, Brown, Tatum, White, and the one-time labeled by Kevin Durant, the unicorn, Porzingis. Indiana was in the finals of the Eastern Conference. Halliburton, Turner, Siakam, really good team, really well-coached team. The Cavaliers are also well-stacked, especially in the background between Mitchell and Garland and the two big men in Jared Allen and Yvonne Mobley. And then you have the Heat, the Miami. And we cannot forget the Sixers. The Sixers was been there, had their heart broken by the Toronto Raptors on that shot by the chronically injured, it appears, Leonard. We cannot forget the Sixers. They are contenders. They had Embiid, the most unstoppable player in the NBA. They had Maxey, who's a continued rising superstar. And they have a new addition in Paul George, who I think has a 4-year contract, a big contract, but has been there, done that. So the Sixers, who many have predicted will be the top contender in the East to challenge the Celtics, I believe that will be the Knicks. But the Sixers are going to be a contender. And they also have a very good bench. So they have a balanced team. So the East is going to be tough, people, real tough. We cannot forget the Sixers. They are contenders. They had Embiid, the most unstoppable player in the NBA. They had Maxey, who's a continued rising superstar. And they have a new addition in Paul George, who I think has a 4-year contract, a big contract, but has been there, done that. So the Sixers, who many have predicted will be the top contender in the East to challenge the Celtics, I believe that will be the Knicks. But the Sixers are going to be a contender. And they also have a very good bench. So they have a balanced team. The Miami Heat, they're always there, with Butler and Bam and others, Tyler Hero. So the Eastern Conference is stacked. And we need to make sure we are fresh for the playoffs. I think if the playoffs come and we are fresh, we are ready. If we stay healthy and play our best basketball and play consistently, we can compete with anybody in the NBA. Now, in terms of the coaching and the chemistry of the team, because you got to blend in, given Towns has joined us, chemistry is everything, especially with so many new faces. Bridges is new, Towns is new, and they are core to this team. right? And Anunoby came in last year, still not fully blending yet, got hurt in the playoffs. So can this group come together to compete at a high level? And what about Thibodeau, Coach Thibodeau? He's a defensive genius. He has a defensive mindset. But will he be able to adapt his rotation and offensive sets to make this roster prosper and to make the most of the roster? If the Knicks are going to succeed, Tibbs will need to manage minutes wisely. I mentioned this before because Tibbs is known for overplaying players. Chicago with Derrick Rose, Minnesota with the Butlers of the world and the Towns of the world. So he has to figure out how to get a lot off his bench. And right now, even with the Knicks, he's still doing the same old Tibbs thing. Look at when minutes Josh Hart playing the playoffs. Surprised he could walk after every game, after any game. So here are my final thoughts. Can we win the NBA championship with this new squad? We've got the star power, but the bench is thin. Injuries are already a problem with Robinson Earth. And the competition is beyond fierce. We only talked about the East. We didn't even go out West with the Minnesotas and the Oklahomas of the world, with John Morant returning for his team. So it's going to be tough. But when it comes to the NBA and the playoffs, we only have to worry about the East and only one team in the West. If we can build chemistry fast, if we can stay healthy people and get Robinson back at full strength, and if he comes back in January, that means only to play half the season. I mean, we play him sparingly and get him up to speed throughout the regular season to be fully ready for the playoffs. We've got a shot, but it's going to be a battle. It's going to be tough because Boston is not going anywhere. Now, the great thing about my team is this. We're built for the long term. Leon Rose, thank you. If we can re-sign Bridges, we can have this team together for 4 or 5 years. Unlike Boston, who I don't think can pay all their players, because they got about 5 All-Stars on that team. Even though White is not truly an All-Star, but they have about 5 All-Stars. It's hard to pay all these NBA players. You can probably only afford, say, 3 max players per se. Right? Even though I think the cap will go up as the NBA bring in more of that money from their new contract. So can this team bring a title to New York? Let me know in the comment section. Do you think we have enough to bring a title? Let me sign up by saying thanks for watching. Please hit the like button for this video, share the video, and subscribe. I will be doing a watch along on Tuesday of the Knicks Boston game to open the season. So come join me. And again, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. I'll catch you in the next one. Let's go Knicks. We're here. We're in the house.